You've got ideas, a message, a vision for something bigger than your current role in the military. But maybe you're telling yourself you have to wait to get out of the military until you start. The truth is, you don't. In this episode of the Unleash Your Ambition podcast, I'm having a conversation with Michael Valentine Williams, a Marine who did not wait for permission to build something meaningful. While still on active duty, he launched the Real Time Real Talk podcast and began carving out his path as a storyteller, a leader, an entrepreneur. We break down what it looks like to build while still serving, the mindset shifts, the daily habits, and how to use your experience in uniform as fuel for your next chapter. So if you've been holding back on your creative ideas, business goals, or leadership calling, this episode is your reminder. You can start right where you are. All right, grab your pen, your paper, and your favorite drink and get the most out of this episode. Michael, thank you for being on the Unleash Your Ambition podcast. Can you share who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Valentine Williams. I currently serve in the United States Marine Corps. I've been on active duty in the Marine Corps for 15 years. I joined in 2010, and I'm presently serving. I'm real big on leadership. I'm real big on volunteering. I've volunteered in a bevy of different aspects from church organizations, car washes, volunteering at fairs, air shows, like on Air Force bases, different air shows. I'm real big on volunteering. So it's an honor and privilege to be in your podcast with you today, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. I'm a military brat, so I understand the
Right,
importance
right.
of, thinking because it's not an easy thing to do and it's not for everybody, for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was recently on your podcast, and thank you very much. And I thought that
Right.
it was great to continue the conversation over here. For those of you watching and listening, the link to that episode will be below. We go into some very interesting stuff that I usually don't cover on the podcast. And I
Yeah.
think we definitely uh, deepen the conversation of what we're having today. So,
Right.
Michael,
Yes.
based off of what you shared, you said, that you do volunteer work. So you're obviously a self-led person,
Yes.
which I absolutely love. I love being connected with people who are doing something in their own unique way and owning it, which is absolutely amazing. And my first question, I'm curious, like your podcast, because I know we
Yes.
connected in podcasters of Facebook group.
Yes.
And I'm glad, that I went ahead and joined the group, posted some stuff in the group, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people that I'm connecting with now.
Yes.
And I was wondering, like, what what was your inspiration behind starting the podcast?
So for me, I wanted a space for people to control their own narrative, and I wanted to be able to control my own narrative. And it's something that I've seen over the years with a lot of more uh, public podcasts that's out there, like the Joe Rogan podcast. That's a good one that I watched. The Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor. That's another good one. There's a bevy of different podcasts, like the $1 million Worth of Game podcast is another good one. I can go on and on. Such a great list of different ones. And I wanted to do something similar. I wanted to be able to like kind of, because essentially it is your own business, right? And um, I just had the vision for it. Like I just told myself one day, like, hey, I want to start a podcast. And this was like early or towards the end of last year, right? So I started writing out everything. I had a little team with me to like help me brainstorm ideas and everything. And once I put it on paper, the everything just kept coming, and I just kept writing it out of what I wanted it to be, what did I want, what I wanted it to focus on, and things of that sort. So it wasn't really for me. It really wasn't really a hard process to start it, but I'm glad that I did. And the guests that I've had on, like a lot of them are military because that's my center of like gravity right now as far as what I do, serving my country and everything like that. But I've also had other guests who are not in the military, so it opens it up for people to come on and talk about health and wellness, which is one of the main things of my podcast. Health and wellness, spiritual health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, financial health, educational health, and pretty much anything that alludes to health. So I found that to be great, and I've had some great guests on, and it's pretty. I'm probably about almost 70 something episodes in now, and I launched January 20th of 2025. So this year.
Congratulations. You made it
Thank
over
you.
the hump. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you got to give yourself a round of applause. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Sometimes you got to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yes, absolutely. I
100%.
mean,
Yeah.
especially when trying something new outside of the
Right.
box, you
Absolutely.
got to be your own cheerleader for
Yes, ma'am.
sure. I love it. So you made it over that because I had a podcast before this
Okay.
one back in 2011, 12, like when hardly anyone was doing it.
Right.
And one of the most common stats is most people who start a podcast don't make it past 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So you're already 70 and you just started like
Yeah.
this
I
year.
think I did 10 within like the first 2 weeks, if I'm being quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go back and look at the timeline, but because okay, so for me, right, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know
No,
if you
no,
was about
go
to
ahead.
ask me another question,
Yeah, go
but for
ahead.
me, like it wasn't about I want to do this to be another stream of income. Like that wasn't my idea behind it. My idea behind it was like I wanted something that I could be like I started from the ground up. Like I poured into it. I invested into it. I bought my own equipment. I wrote out my own vision. Like I produced everything. Like my team helps me, but for the most part, and I'm just being honest, like 97% of it is all on me. I reach out to guests, I schedule, I edit, I do everything. So in a sense, I'm a producer, executive producer, a writer because I'm writing out, my it's not necessarily scripted, but I'm writing out how I want the episode to go, what kind of questions I want to ask, things of that sort. So it's fulfilling for me in that way. And if I never make a dime from it, I'll still continue to do it. So I think people give up too quick in terms of like they're looking to like get rich or just to be Joe Rogan. Like not everybody can be Joe Rogan starting out. Like you're not gonna have like the number one podcast in the world. Like you got to build your base. You got to have people follow you. You have to post content. You have to attract an audience. There's a lot of factors that go into being successful in the podcast realm. But for me, like I'm not doing it for money or I do it because it's fun. It's fun having guests on and having conversations and things of that sort and educating myself and others because I learn a lot from every episode that I've done, every guest that I've had on. I've learned something from them. And that's what it's about, just being educated and going through this journey we call life.
Thank you for bringing up these points. So when you started, you do everything. I do most of everything myself too.
Right.
I enjoy the process. It doesn't
Yeah.
overwhelm me.
Doesn't.
And as far as like being trying to be another Joe Rogan, like none of us can be
Yeah.
another Joe Rogan.
Well, I won't say that. Like we can always like if the Lord has his hand in it and
Mhm.
that's our calling, like we could be up there in that area, but I
Yes,
feel like, happen overnight per se. Like,
it
and that's
won't
what I meant
happen.
by like not everybody can be Joe Rogan because obviously he has the number one podcast in the world.
Right.
He's had the president on his podcast. He's had like very very uh famous individuals on his podcast, and he's like a celebrity in his own right with being a commentator for UFC. And I remember him mostly from Fear Factor, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. Well, what I meant
yeah,
by not anyone can be Joe Rogan because everybody has their own unique path.
right,
And I mean, for people who have followed Joe Rogan's journey, like
yeah,
I listened to him. I've listened to most of his episodes, and
right,
he even says in the beginning it wasn't really about money. The money
yeah,
became the byproduct years later. There was hardly anyone listening to his episode. Lots of his peers were saying like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Right.
because they did not see his vision.
Right.
And what I do like about his philosophy, it's like doing things that you enjoy, and money could come up from it, great, but if not,
Right.
it's okay too. And
That's right.
um, I mean, either ways, there's no right and wrong. Like if you want to monetize your podcast, but or not.
Yeah.
But
And mhm,
if you're gonna do this, we got to think of the long game. So I think
right.
that's
Come on
why
now.
a lot of
That's
people
right.
peter out, give up because
They
things
want that
aren't happening
microwave
fast enough.
success. They
Yeah,
want
yeah.
microwave success. And
Hmm.
microwave success happens because it wouldn't be called microwave success if it wasn't a thing. But it just doesn't all happen all the time.
Right.
It doesn't happen all the time. And that's fine. Um, and I'm glad that you mentioned that too about when you were talking about Joe Rogan. In the beginning, him saying that he wasn't doing it for money, or whatever. But I know with Spotify, that's who I started and launched my podcast through. They started monetizing me after my 12th episode. So, like, I mean, yeah,
Amazing. Yes.
yeah,
So yeah, so it's about like the long version, because I don't recommend anybody and everybody doing a podcast. It's like it's what's gonna make sense for you in your journey. Um,
right,
like for example, my podcast is themed about around entrepreneurial minded people, people that have a message that they want to share in the world. And then also the other thing, I like to connect with people, and in I like to have conversations with people. And you brought up about like you learn something from every episode that you do.
right,
It's the same thing
yes,
with me, and the connection and the camaraderie. And
right,
I think that is probably, like, for me personally, the most valuable thing out of the podcast beyond
yes,
money.
man,
It's just
100%,
learning different perspectives, because I
right,
don't want to be in my own bubble, at all. So
right. I'm real big on education, like,
yeah, yeah,
and
same
being
here.
educated and educating yourself. Like, as long as you got breath in your body, blood flowing through your veins, you can learn something. There's always something new to learn every day. I feel like if you haven't learned at least one thing in 24 hours, there's a problem.
Oh, I agree with that
But that's just my
100%.
opinion. Not everybody thinks that way, but I feel like you should constantly be feeding your brain something. You should be reading a book. You should be learned something. Like, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which I think is why I resonate with you so much, because I can just spot somebody that is a learner, a lifelong learner. I always think of my one of the models, which I didn't create, I didn't invent, is create more, consume less,
Right.
and always be a student, even in areas that you are proficient at. There's always room to learn, and there's always room to grow. Like if we're not
Right.
growing, we're
Yep.
dying. That's the way that I look at it. If we're not growing
100%. I
mentally,
could not agree more.
yeah.
Like I said, I think I mentioned it either on our episode that we did on my podcast or with
Mhm.
somebody else that I had on. One of my favorite quotes from Muhammad Ali, like, if I'm the same that I am at 50 that I was at 25 years, then I wasted 25 years of my life.
Ooh, yeah,
So change is good. Growth is definitely good. I'll
yes,
say change is good, growth is better.
yes,
So yeah,
absolutely. So have you
100%.
have you been like this all your life?
What do you mean?
Like your entire life, have you always had that growth mindset?
Uh, I would say so. Like, I've always kind of been a chip on my shoulder kind of person. Like, I don't like being told that I can't do something. I don't like being told that something's not possible. Um, and I don't like failure rubs me the wrong way. It makes me hungry to 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 taste victory. Like, I don't remember a lot of victories like that, but I definitely remember all the losses that I have in life. And none of them have really been losses. They've been lessons learned, but I don't like that feeling. So it's just kind of kept me humble, kept me hungry, you know? So
I love that.
100%.
I love that. So, how has, I know you're in the military, like how
Yes,
has
ma'am.
that helped you with discipline, being self-led? I always love to hear other people's perspectives, because I've had, people that are veterans on the podcast, and I'm
Right.
always curious about that.
Right. Well, one day I'll get to the veteran status one day, but as of right now, I'm still currently active duty. But to answer your question, with discipline, the Marine Corps has definitely helped me in that. It changed my life for the better. You know, like I joined young, like I did 2 years of college after high school. So I joined at 20 years old. And from there, the United States Marine Corps instills in you very early in recruit training or boot camp, like as some would say, of being a leader. Like they instill in you leadership early. Like you learn how to be a leader in boot camp. Like it is instilled in everyone that even at the lowest levels, you're expected to be a leader in the Marine Corps. And that has kind of shaped my mindset over the years. Like as I look back at it, like I think I take everything that I do, I want to not necessarily take over and be in charge, but I have a leadership mindset of if something doesn't feel right, I'm gonna speak up. If something doesn't sound right, I'm gonna like look into it. I'm gonna take the initiative in things. Like that's part of being a leader, doing things that you know need to be done without being told and things of that sort. So I would definitely say that it helped me. That's what the leadership ethos early on in boot camp is kind of stuck with me up until this point. And I would be almost 100% if I was a betting man to say any other guest that you have on that served or is serving in the Marine Corps would kind of echo those same sentiments.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Which is amazing because it definitely trains your mind to see things differently and how you can implement that in all areas of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So who would you say is the biggest influence on your life and why?
Uh, are we talking like supernatural, natural? Like what are we talking?
It could be any of them.
So
Anything.
supernatural, you have to go. Well, I have to go with the Lord Jesus Christ. Like that's just straight up. Like without Him, guiding me and directing me and being my savior and everything like that, like I wouldn't be where I am today. On the natural side, I would say my late grandfather William Blunt Jr. He passed away in 2014. Um, he passed away in 2014, but he instilled in me like the work ethic and the he was all about common sense. He used to tell me all the time that common sense will take you farther than any book sense will ever take you, and that's always stuck with me to this day. Because you can be book smart all day, but if you don't have enough common sense, like you're not gonna go far. So he instilled those values in me. He instilled the values of being a man, what hard work looks like, how a man is supposed to take care of his family, how a man is supposed to be a family man, how a man is supposed to, do those handy dandy things like fixing the toilet or fixing the electrical circuits or fixing a porch or building a porch. Like I did all of the. He had me doing all of these things when I was in my like pre-teens. Like I was learning all of this kind of stuff, how to use a scale, how to use a level, how to use hammer and nails, how to build things, how to just be a man, like as society kind of deems it, and that goes farther back than just what he was instilling me in. That's just a societal thing where then the man is supposed to provide and protect, and he helped along with my father, my adopted father, who he passed away in 2022. Has helped instill those values as well. So that will be my answer for those. Yep. On the supernatural side, Jesus, and on the natural side, my grandfather and my dad.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And now you're carrying the torch.
I'm trying. Yep. one hundred
Yeah.
percent.
Oh, you are. You're doing it. Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
One hundred
So
percent.
where do you what's your vision for your life moving forward? Like what's something so big, so extraordinary that you feel called upon your heart that you want to move in the direction towards?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I'm 34 right now. I'll be turning 35 next month. But man, I will say I definitely for sure always want my family, like, and when I say my family, I'm talking about my immediate family, like my wife and my two kids, to always be in the position to be able to, I don't want to say like be able to go on without me, but definitely be able to thrive without me. Like I feel like any father that hasn't prepared his family to be able to move on without them, it's kind of failed as a father, and I don't want to have that asterisk on my resume, so to speak. Like I want my family to be prepared to be able to, to carry on, like in the event that I can't be there to protect, provide, and protect. Um, so so yeah, I'll say I definitely want to be for sure a great family man and just take care of my family, work hard, and kind of reap the hard work of my labor from not just for myself but for my family.
Thank you for sharing that. And the reason why I ask is because, I'm pretty sure there's someone listening that just does not have a big vision yet because they might be too focused on the how, but you being
Right.
able to share what yours is, how
Right.
it's aligned with your values,
Yeah.
can
I
breathe life into someone
one
who's
right.
stuck.
100%. And I would just say that like people need to write their vision out, like write down your thoughts. A script, and I'm not trying to make everyone religious or spiritual or whatever the case may be, but I am. So I can only speak from what helps me and what keeps me grounded. But in the Bible, it talks about writing the vision and making it plain. So like write out your vision, write out what it is you want to do in life, write out your goals. And once you see it on paper, you'll see yourself making that 1% change. That's all it takes. I'm reading a book right now called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about just uh, changing one thing in your life daily can pay dividends down the road. Just a 1% change,
Mm-hmm.
and on a scale of 1%, or as you were on a scale of 100%, 1% it doesn't seem like that much, but over time, if you consistently staying in that 1% and making it habitual, over time you will see yourself making these changes that will help you in the long run.
Thanks for bringing up that book. That is a great book. And just 1% doesn't seem like a lot because I know I think most of our brains operate that we want change like that, you know. And if we don't see the change, in a very short period of time, we'll stop doing it because we don't think it works. So that's a great book recommendation. And yes, I agree, like writing things down because we have so many thoughts in a day. I think it's 10,000, maybe even more than that. I don't know, but
Right.
it's a lot. And some of those thoughts are just fleeting, but there are some thoughts that I believe that are, I always call them like divine downloads. You
Right.
know, it's literally God speaking to you,
Mm-hmm.
breathing something into you, that you can take action on that's aligned with your vision. So being able to write it down that way, it's not just a fleeting thought, it's something that you
Right.
intentionally put some thought, emotion, action into that thing that definitely contributes to the one doing the 1% thing differently, even if
Right.
you don't see it um benefiting you. It is a little bit at a time, and that's like I think what so many people miss. And reading that book kind of helps change your not kind of, it does change your perspective on
100%.
making those changes that are necessary for you to make in order for you to receive the blessings. I
Yeah.
know that of course God's going to give you things and you don't have to do anything for it,
Right.
but then there's some things that you literally have to take action for. You can't just sit and wait. Because
Uh-huh.
the way that I look at that personally is like you're the saying God's not going to give you more than what you can handle. That
Right.
doesn't just apply to the things that you consider challenges and tribulations. It's also the blessings, and the
Right.
abundance that can be brought into your life. So I'm glad that you brought
Yeah.
that up.
Well, I agree. And just being a champion of paying it forward, I feel like knowledge and everything like that doesn't really benefit anyone if it's not shared. So
Mm.
you have to um, first obviously educate yourself so that you know what you're talking about. So you can be confident in those that you're trying to teach or impart wisdom and knowledge on. So it's always important to pay it forward.
Yes, yes. And this podcast episode is a way of paying it forward for those of you watching and listening. So, Michael, before we close out, I would love for you to share where people can connect with you outside the podcast, and I will be sure to leave them in the show
Oh,
notes below.
absolutely.
Yes.
So they can people So I can be followed on Instagram. It's called Valentino Willow. So that's VALENTINO WILLO. That's my Instagram. And then on Spotify, um, if you just type in capital R real, um, capital T time, capital R real, capital T talk. No spaces, just type it all out together. So just capitalize the first letter in each word. You can find my podcast there on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, pretty much all streaming platforms. You can find me in my episodes. But all of my episodes are on Spotify. So if you want to see all of my content, you can find it all in one place. And then Facebook as well. I'm on Facebook, Michael Valentine Williams. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Not hiding.
Wonderful.
I'm out there.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So, for those of you watching and listening, look below in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're driving or not able to click any active links, just go to unleashyourambition.com and all of Michael's information will be there. And before we close out, Michael, I'd love for you to give final words of wisdom. And I think this should be geared more towards people that are in active duty right now, and they're looking for a way to expand their creativity, their gifts, beyond, just focusing on, the job, the important job that they have,
Okay.
in the military. What
Yes, ma'am.
would you say to them?
I would say first and foremost, keep God first. He's the source of everything, and then I will also say, echoing what I've already said here previously, like write out your goals, write out your vision, um, and make them realistic or smart goals, like specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So make goals for yourself, and don't be lazy. Like we just got to call a spade a spade. A lot of people don't get to where they want to get to because they're lazy. And I feel like if you can actually have a little bit of work ethic and some ambition, it'll take you a long way. And in the words of my late grandfather, William Blunt Jr., common sense will take you farther than any book.